Hello everybody, it's MP3 Charlie here, teaching you the art of muzzle flares. Today we're going to be turning this into this. Muzzle flares are arguably one of the easiest effects to do, but they're also one of the hardest to pull off. So, I'm going to teach you how to make it a nice looking muzzle flare that works very nicely with a lot of environmental interactions such as smoke and lights on the face and areas around the muzzle flare. So let's get started. So this base clip is literally one of the tutorial files from Action Essentials 2 that Andrew Kramer has made. It's basically just a guy shaking a machine gun. And there's obviously a tutorial to do it in After Effects, but I'm going to be doing it in HitFilm. I've recently just moved to HitFilm and I do really like it. I've been using After Effects for ages, but HitFilm's really good. It's got a ton of good stuff, like it's got its own muzzle flares in here. I'm going to be using them, the Quick 3D, no not there, sorry, Particles and Simulation. Nope, it's in presets. There you go. 3D effects, gunfire. I'm going to be using these. You can use stock footage. In fact, I'll include a couple of pieces of stock footage for you. It's basically the compositing elements will be the same, and an annotation will come up every single time I begin to use the 3D elements, so that you can click it and skip to after that if you're using stock footage. So, first of all, what do we need? A flare. But, how do we get a flare to follow this gun? Well, watch and learn, ladies and gentlemen. This gun, we're lucky because there's a flashlight on it. If you're recording, you might want to stick a little track point on there somehow. Anything from just the orange tip that you paint in post with black, or anything like that, because you're already going to have a track, so it's going to be fine. So we're going to track this footage here. So what you want to do is go up here to the tracks button and click the little plus. We only need a single point because we're only doing this flashlight here. So let's get that nice and lined up properly there. So obviously, quick rundown on tracking. This red box, or the pink box, whatever, shows what you want to track. So the computer will recognize this area. Usually choose a high contrast point. I tried tracking here earlier, and that didn't work. So you want to do stuff like this pipe, maybe the caution sign. We'll use that in a little while. So that is what you'll find, a high contrast point, and the computer will be able to take a snapshot of this and recognize where it is on shot. The green box is your find box, your search box, so you can hit that up there. So what we're going to do is we're literally just going to track that straight through. So there we go, we've got a good solid track now. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do a new layer, and we're going to do a point. Because we need a point for this to track onto. You can obviously turn off the point, but you don't need to do that because we're in layer view due to this track. So if we hit this here and then do apply to layer and click the new point, I'm actually going to rename this. I never rename it, but it might make sense. Gun track, just so we can actually remember. That's another thing that's really important that you need to start doing in HitFilm especially. So that's our track. So now we have a point that if we click onto it in the viewer, we can actually watch the point move with the gun here. So that's that. Now what we can do is we can start putting the muzzle flare in. So obviously I'm going to be using one of these guys, but obviously you stock footage people, you put it in, line it up, and then follow me on the next few steps. So here we go. I'm going to use the Beretta just because it's a nice big flare and it means we can just get going with it straight away. Obviously the reason why I quite like using these is because you have the power to rotate it in 3D space. So obviously he's shooting off in this direction, so we'll need to budget onto the end of his gun. Now, compositors as well, click here and parent that to the gun track. Now we'll follow the gun. It's not following the gun here, because obviously this is before we started tracking down here. So, where does he start shooting? Right there. Budge that up. This is obviously the complete wrong scale. So if we go to controls, transform, sometimes I like doing it down here, sometimes it's better up here. So we make it smaller here. Just for demonstration purposes, we'll make it nice and small, and we'll make it bigger in a little while. Right, there we go, that should be good. That's a pretty good area, and it's following the gun pretty nicely. Very good. Right, I'm going to rotate that one more time. Just a little bit more, I think. Probably off in that direction a little bit. And bunge it over. Right, now, what we can start working on is changing it to look good. So, what I like to do, I don't think this... although it looks good, it looks very realistic, I go for a way more stylized part. I usually go for any saturation over 100 and nothing over 200, because at 200 you're starting to see it starts to turn up into like just pure orange here. So if we go back to, I'd say about 150 is quite nice for this one. Maybe a little bit less, probably about 145, maybe 135. And we can wedge that around so it's a little bit more yellow maybe. Just touch that there. Right, that's perfect. So, once you got that all how you want it, you can now, if you head into here, you have a rate of fire. People who are compositing in stock footage elements, they don't really need to worry about this. They can either layer loads of different ones, one after each other, or you can use one of the ones from, say, Action Essentials, which is rapid fire already. So we can budge down the rate of fire, only a little bit, not too much, and now we can see that the gun will, the muzzle flare will flash. I've just noticed here that it is missing the barrel of the gun quite dramatically. There you go, that should be a little bit better looking. Yeah, that's good. It's a little bit off on the rotation, so I'm going to do that again. Probably about there. Maybe good. Right, so obviously now it's just a flickering gunshot. It's not the greatest thing in the world, is it? Now, this is where we want to, as 3D guys, we want to get a bit crazy. We'll go here and see the seed. We're going to go to the very start of when it starts shooting. So around about, where are you? Here. So when he first gets kicked back into his shoulder. So that's probably around about, he starts to bring it up and then it goes pow into his shoulder there. So this is where we're going to start. So you can trim the layer, because obviously it doesn't want to start before that. We can trim the layer there. And now we can click the little, what is a stopwatch in After Effects here, on seed to do keyframes. We can go to the end and budge the seed up just a little bit. I wouldn't say all the way, because then it sometimes seems a little bit twitchy. So now we have nice little dynamic gunshots here. I am actually going to, how long is this? 412. I am going to change this really quickly just so it doesn't sort of go on afterwards. So 4 seconds and 12 frames. There we go. Now it will stop. So if I zoom back out again. Now the flare is obviously too small. If we're stylizing, make it bigger. So I'm talking around about, on screen you want it to be about just under the same size as the gun. So I'd say about the length of the barrel. So if the barrel goes back to here, that's about a good enough size. If we go back to the start and watch that again, you can see it's a little bit better. Now, this is where we change it quite dramatically with a couple of easy steps. This looks good, but if you want it to look better, this is how you do it. If you go into this here, sorry, if you right click and do blend, you can change it to add, which makes it a little bit more like on top of everything. And I'd say if you're in a low light situation, add is probably better because it lights up the surroundings a little bit more. Whereas if you're in a high daylight situation, screen is a little bit better. But obviously go with your personal taste because it's all about how much you want to stylize it. So there you go, now we got a little bit better. I'd usually tend to drop the opacity a tiny bit. You don't want to do it too much, otherwise it looks really tacky. So I'd say literally a couple of percent, just so you get a tiny little sneak peek of the edges sticking through there. So that's nice. Now, obviously, we gotta start doing some environmental interaction. And how do we do that? Smoke. So we need a smoke element. Obviously, here we have our very favorite gun smoke. Oops, gun smoke. Here in the particle simulator, if you've got this pack or Headphone Pro. Now, here's the different thing about this, because smoke doesn't come out of a gun and follow the gun around. So if we were to track it to the gun track, it would look really dodgy. In fact, the way the shot's moving, it's not even that noticeable. But this is the sort of the thing where we need to start tracking the background so that we get the camera motion tracked. So here we are, we're gonna just hit up the machinegun.mov, add another track point and double points. Obviously you want to find the track points to your corresponding footage. If you're using the same one as me, then that is fine. So I'm gonna do one up here on this little high contrasted pipe sectiony thing here and up the side. I'm also going to do one on the red caution sign. Be warned, when you're looking for track points, whatever you do, do not find one that disappears or gets put in front of. I know, because I tracked it previously, that this does not get obscured at all. So we go back to the start here. We could just track back, but didn't really want to do that. We might as well start from the beginning. Saves us a little bit of effort in a couple of minutes. So now, if we hit track, hopefully that's a good enough size. It might get knocked out of shot once, maybe? I don't know. No, look, we're pretty good. That's a pretty good track. You want to tick rotation because that's the main thing that we're focusing on. And now we're going to do a new point called... Let's rename that and type camera track. There we go. Back to the viewer. Insert a layer. Now we can go back onto here, bottom tracker, hit the track, and then we want to do layer camera track. Make sure rotation is ticked and apply. Now we have another track which is, oh, just budged that on top by accident. Now we have another track which is above everything else and just basically tracks the camera and nothing else really, just the background, how the shot moves. So we can see the point there is stuck to the little thing and rotating as it should. So now we can go onto the gun smoke and change it to the camera track, and now it will linger in the frame. Now we're going to want to go to the first frame where he shoots, which is here. So we're going to want our gun smoke to shoot out there. So if we do that, I'm going to put it below the Beretta, and I'm going to leave it sort of there-ish like that. That should be good, and then it should track with the motion of the camera. Fantastic. Now, you'll notice the smoke is very, very dark. What we can do is literally the same again, blend and then maybe screen. It's all about trying which is best for you, really. I think I did add in the last one because that worked quite nicely. Quite a pale little shot. So the way that the gun smoke works in this is very nice because it shoots out so you can see the trajectory of the bullet, which is quite handy. Now we don't need to do this on every shot, but we are going to copy and paste it and just budge it around really. Just a little bit like that. Just so we have a little bit different things. So now we have to line them all up. So that needs to go, ooh, this one needs to go into the end of the barrel. So around about there will do. This one needs to go into the barrel. About there will do. Oh, just click motion blur by accident. This one needs to, that's pretty good already. Let's budge it up a little bit. This needs to go in there too, that's amazing already. Down a bit for this one. And over here for this one. Oh, missed it. There we go. Perfect. So now we can budge all of these below the actual muzzle flares. Now we can watch it back. Little bits of smoke come out. I'm in fact going to increase the size of the flare. You don't actually have to do this. Obviously it's all about personal taste. There we go. So it's nice and smoky, right? Now obviously if a gun lights up, it's going to light up this guy. It's going to light up maybe a little bit of the background, but in the daytime it wouldn't be noticeable, and sort of around his gun area. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to go here, we're going to do a new layer, and we're going to do a new grade. We're going to budge it down to just above the machine gun one. And now what we're going to do is we're going to get a glow and plop it onto the new grade. You'll be like, oh my gosh, and then you'll realize what's happening. So now if we do use colors A and B, tick, and then we make them orange, yellow, and maybe a bit of orange on the darker one here. So probably up here, maybe. There we go. That's quite a nice. It's quite a nice color there. Maybe budge the midpoint around. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit the pen tool here, which is the pen tool for masking. So we're gonna click the grade, and we're gonna hit on over to it. We're just gonna. Oh, I buggered it. There we go. Just gonna click on out some of the points here that we can use. So obviously the gun will light up sort of this area of him. So that's what you want to have there. Maybe round it off a little bit better than I did. And it's also going to light up at least part of his face. Like so. So now what we can do... I've been masking the wrong thing. By accident there. Let me delete that. Go back to the grade. Mask the right thing. For once. Right. There we go. Now he's got a nice little bit of colour on his face. Fantastic. So, obviously, right now, you're going to be thinking, but Charlie, this looks poop. Look at it, what is this? Now, if we hit up the masks here, all three of them, what's the third one? One, right, you can go. Right, these two, they need feathering. So if we bump that out and hit shape, and we do feather strength, and feather it up quite a little bit more than maybe sort of 100. That'd be good. This is nice and smooth. Now you're thinking, but why is it just always lit up? Come on, man. So we're gonna go to the first shot he takes, which is there. So we're gonna cut the grade to there. And this is where it gets super simple. Do you know why? We can literally track it to the camera track. Now I'll follow him around. So I'll only light up the same place all the time, unless he moves his head, which he does, but don't worry about that. Now, this is the super simple part, because it's supposed to be flashing instead of just staying lit up. And we can do that really simple in HitFilm with the I believe it's the damage one. In grunge, flicker, plop that, oh, missed. Plop that onto the our grade layer. Where is it? There it is. Plop that onto our grade layer. Straight off the bat, it should already have done it. Look at that. We can, if we want, up the frequency a little bit so it goes a little bit faster. I quite like it having a little bit higher frequency. There we go. So now we've got all the environmental interaction. It's time to color correct and grade. So this is how we do it. We're going to select all of this and do make composite shot, and we're going to do base layer or something like that. Now if we go back to composite shot in a second, composite shot 1, we can now do new layer grade. Now this will just be sharpening. So if we head on into effects and we do unsharp, unsharpened. Don't quite know why it's called unsharpened, someone tell me that. And then we can do 2 of these. So one very, very gentle, keep the edges quite soft, maybe just 1 pixel. And then we're going to do another one on top of that. And this one is going to be slightly stronger. It'll just blend in with the other one. Up the threshold a little bit. But basically all that's done is, if you especially look around the gun and coat, you can see it has just sharpened the edges a little bit better. His hat, you can maybe see it on. Just makes it look a little bit more high dynamic range. It's very nice. It's a very good touch, very professional. I'm actually going to budge it down by just a teeny bit there. Just because his eyebrows are like burning in blue. Right, so now that we've done that, that's a good grade. And the muzzle flare and stuff hasn't really changed that much at all. So don't worry about that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to add a little bit of color correction here. So we're going to do grade. And I'm probably just gonna, just to make it quick, obviously everyone use your own color correction, please, by all means. I'm just going to, there we go, HDR pop. I'm just gonna pop the high dynamic range out, and I would usually tweak this a little bit, but I'm not going to for the sake of the tutorial. That just brings out some of the vibrance there. Obviously you need to tune that to your certain footage. Now, this is where I like to do another composite shot and do first grade, not second grade or third, don't worry about that. Go back to composite shot 1, and now we're going to do what I like to call the final grade. You can use any of these pre-built filters in the film looks presets tab if you want, but it's basically just choosing what you want it to look like. So if you want it to look like Transformers, make it a little bit warmer. Then it's really over the top there. But sci-fi teal, you want it slightly blue. I quite like it slightly blue. It adds a little bit of action there. Or if you want it to look like the Matrix, make it a little bit green and wash it out a little bit. I quite like this, so I'm going to change the color balance slightly. Instead of it being green, because I'm not making the Matrix, I'm just going to budge up the blue just ever so slightly and down the green so that it stays sort of the same. There we go. So now that's our final grade. And how do we make something look super professional? It's easy. Letterbox. Bam! Now it looks like a film. But you're probably thinking, what about J.J. Abrams? And you, my friend, are correct. If we added a new grade here, plop it underneath there, and now we do, where is it? Lights and flares. All we need to do is add in auto light flares and just slap that on there. Now, this is a bit blue because J.J. Abrams. We want to change it from this to probably, I'd say, anamorphic halo looks good in my shot, but it's all up to you. As you can see, it just, when it lights up, it gives a little bit of the J.J. Abrams glare that we all know and love and hate. I'm in fact going to, you can always adjust the opacity on any of these grade layers and it will basically just dim the effect slightly. So I'm going to do that on that so it's a little bit harder to notice so it isn't all J.J. Abrams in your face. Now, last thing I like to do, if you ever need something in action form really quick, you can literally just go onto your main composite shot or composition shot and you can literally just put in camera shake. Again, this is great because HitFilm can do it for you and just like that you've got camera shake. It's a little bit laggy, but there you go. Obviously you can, with After Effects you can use the wiggle, but I'm showing HitFilm now and it does it fabulously on its own. Just like that. You can change it to masses and then you got like super offset, or you can change it to just a little bit and it will work nicely. I'm going to set it back to 30. So there you go. That's how to get some muzzle flares. Obviously add in sound. Please add in sound. A muzzle flare without good sound is going to be rubbish too. Now, a pro tip from me. I know when everyone makes these tutorials, the first thing they say is, don't do it exactly how I've done it. And I'm about to say it again, and you're probably thinking, whoa, I am going to do it exactly how you do it, because I can't do it. That is exactly how I felt. And the more you test, the more you play with it, you genuinely will see your results change and become better. Like, this is the best muzzle flash I've ever made, along with the previous one. Because I just love it. I love it. I love HitFilm. I've never used HitFilm before this, and I just went out on a whim, and there you go. But get as much practice as possible, because the more you do it, the more randomness you do, the more you throw in. Definitely with colour grading, it always looks better afterwards. Just make sure you don't go too over the top, and you will be absolutely fine. You can go out on a whim and just throw out anything. Like, throw After Effects at the wall, throw HitFilm at the wall, make something that no one else has seen, and keep practicing until it looks fab. And if it doesn't look fab, go away for an hour, come back, see if it looks fab now. If not, you need some tweaking to do. Get other people to tell you how they think you did. You could throw in some shells in here if you got Action Essentials or anything like that, but I'm only showing the flare today and some colour grading. So there you go. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Please take inspiration from this. If you want to copy it exactly, that's good, that's great. You hopefully, if you guys think mine's good, then it's a good result you'll get. But that is not yours, and the more you tweak it and the more you suit it to your own needs, that is how you do it. So I've included some stock footage in the description for anyone who needs to do it. It's basically the same principle, just without altering a 3D element inside HitFilm, like the smoke or like anything like that. So try different blending modes with them, and hopefully it should all work. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye bye!